Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continued today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's the Gold Standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Thanks for joining us and welcome to the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn. And Ken, it is a big day today because it's the BRICS plus 6.
Yes.
We always love a good pun.
Do we have a whiteboard in studio? I was thinking about doing Kenanomics.
Man, if you did not see the news this week, Joe Biden, we call him Chairman Joe, he was trying to explain Bidenomics on that whiteboard.
Impressive.
We're going to do a little better than that, but we like to start every program showing you how everything started, where the fiat experiment is, and just how it's going today. It all started back in 1971. President Richard Nixon decided to take the dollar off the gold standard with this speech for its own good, of course.
Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculator. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Absolutely.
For our own good, right, President Nixon?
Yeah, I could sum it up.
Give it to me.
Let's back the dollar by nothing. Let's give the central bankers the permission to print as much as they want. And let's give our corrupt politicians the ability to spend.
It's all hot air, right?
Oh, boy. That's why our money's dwindling down to nothing. And that's why there's so much debt. And they just keep piling it on. And how is this all going to end? Well, most people that we talk to don't want to comply. They don't want to risk all of their assets and find out what's going to happen. They want to do something about what they can do today, and that means taking some money and converting it to gold and silver and having something real and tangible in their possession.
Yeah, something to hold on to. You don't have to trust the government. You don't have to trust the banks. You don't have to wait around for a digital currency to slap us in the face. You can get gold and precious metals, and you can do it right now. Take personal responsibility. You've worked really hard for your money, and you want to protect yourself and your family, and you want to be able to access your money when you need it. That's why we tell you to call Midas Gold Group. They are America First patriots. They are veteran owned, and they are absolutely fantastic. You can take it from me. I mean, seriously, everybody I've met from Midas, and I'm not just saying that to you, Ken Russo. Everybody is phenomenal. And that number you want to write down and use it as soon as you can. Don't wait for the storm. 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653. 855-322-GOLD, MidasGoldGroup.com. If you want to check it out online, MidasGoldGroup.com. We'll give the number out again a little bit later. But let's talk about some of the news of the week. This BRICS confab, the BRICS nations come together. It's a way to...
It's like an alliance.
It's an alliance, exactly.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
BRICS.
And they had a meeting, and they're going to have 6 new members. What are those 6 new members?
Some real nice ones.
Here we go. Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, no big deal there, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Argentina.
Have you cried for them?
No. Kind of feels like we're becoming the United States of Argentina or the United States of Venezuela or maybe the United States of the Weimar Republic. Remember that one?
Yeah. But this is the thing, though, Ken. Those are a lot of countries with a lot of people in them.
Yeah. You want to know what I see, Jen?
Serious stuff.
I see 46% of the world's population. I see 37% of the world's GDP. I see the top 2 gold producers in the world, China and Russia, and I see many of the leading oil producers that are in BRICS. And what do we have in our country?
Yeah, not a lot of anything. We have Joe Biden.
Yeah. I mean, and we have a debt-ridden Federal Reserve note. That's what they call our currency. And they have their currency that's going to be backed up by tangible assets like gold, silver, and oil. And I don't know how else to say it, Jen. our country and our world reserve currency is just headed in the wrong direction in every single possible way. And
we hear that, but what does that mean for the average person?
well, it means that a lot of these countries, they want to do business between themselves and cut us out. Don't forget, since the 60s, we've been the world reserve currency where all the oil trades needed to be ended up in dollars. That means there's a demand for dollars, a constant demand for dollars. And it's also a big advantage when it comes to our debt, where we could finance our debt at a low interest rate. Well, all that's changing. We're headed in the wrong direction. It takes time, but it's definitely accelerating. I would say with the strength of the BRICS, it means that the world is de-dollarization. There's a de-dollarization, if that makes sense to you.
De-dollarization.
Yeah, a de-dollarization.
That means, for us beginners, that means people are moving away from the dollar, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Very simply. Now, as people move away from something,
I
its
de-dollarize
value-
myself online shopping a lot, which is not good. But this
might
is all
wanna-
serious because when people move away from the dollar, that means that the money that we've worked really hard for, our dollars, are worth less.
So as people move away from it, meaning other countries, and as we print tens or hundreds of trillions more,
Right.
what do you think's going to happen to the value of our currency?
Going to go down.
It's going to dwindle.
Right.
So we're not even talking about the privacy or the safety of our money. We're talking about the value of our money.
Because gold is kind of, just to set the stage, because I think it's important, there are many reasons to consider gold. One of them is that it's private. We'll talk about that in a second. Another is that it's accessible because it's home and you're safe. You don't have to rely on banks, which is a whole different problem. But when you actually realize that your money is now worth less by having gold, that to me tells me that the value of gold is going to go up. The value of the dollar is coming down.
Well, that's exactly
right?
what it does. Yeah, I mean, in the 80s, gold went from 30 to 900 or to 800 to exemplify all the money that was printed and the financing of Vietnam and all of that. Gold was 300 in 2002 when the war on terror started, and then it went to 1900 8 years later. But gold still hasn't reflected all of the money, the trillions of dollars that have been printed and spent and whatever, made up, clicked out of thin air since 2015, 2016. So there's a ways to go, and we're going to get into why that is in a minute. But remember, Jen, when we talk about gold, we also mean physical silver.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about that product in 1 second. I do want to give out the phone number, though. You're listening to the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn, happy to be with you. A big hello to Clark in West Hills, California, who said he's a big fan of the program.
Big C, listens every Saturday.
I love it. Thank you, Clark, for listening. And, of course, thank you all for joining us. If you are interested in finding out if gold or silver, precious metals are right for you, if now is the time, if you're done giving all of your blind trust and faith to the government, to the banks, to the global elite, now's the time to call 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. From anywhere in the country, you're listening all over this weekend, 855-322-4653. If you're in California near Thousand Oaks, you can go see Midas Gold in person. If you're in Arizona near the Phoenix area, go see Midas in person or call 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com. If you need a new broker, if you need someone to sell you that gold and precious metals, they are fantastic people. Or if you're just thinking about entering the market to protect yourself and your family, 855-322-4653. And I promise I want to spend some time talking about silver.
Yes.
But with this less valuable dollar, with the system that's falling apart, it's more important than ever for people to figure out whether it's gold or silver. They need to have something that's at home, that's accessible to them, that isn't just going to be susceptible to the overspending of government, of our government,
right?
Plus the devaluing that's happening on the global scale.
Yeah, well, let's assume that the banks have already collapsed, which they have. Yeah. And this is just kind of a, conditioned sort of thing, slow walking the inevitable, where these banks are going to be bought by a few big ones. And then maybe they'll put a regulation that, well, you can't only take out 10% of your money each year or something like that.
Right.
And then they roll us into a digital system, and the digital system fails. And let's say BRICS wants to do a coordinated effort to, put all of their debt on the United States and sell all their debt. I mean, where does that leave us?
In trouble.
You got to do something beforehand. Some of the things you say, Jen, oh, my gosh, where are you coming up with this?
You're my teacher.
Wow. But I mean, we're not conspiracy theorists,
No.
but it ends up that a lot of that stuff is usually right. And I would just say, hey, let's put our tinfoil hat on and let's protect ourselves and let's make sure we have something to show for our time and our money.
Because I look better in gold. Although silver's okay. Let's talk about silver because
quick.
I actually have more silver right now than I do gold. And we want to talk about the product. Silver American Eagle coin, which you brought in. And we always love a little show and tell. You can watch the show, MidasGoldGroup.com. Tell people about that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, 1 ounce coin came out in 1986. Fine silver, 0.999. And silver is an industrial metal. About 60% of the silver that's pulled out of the ground each year goes to industry. So it's a precious metal that's used up, much unlike gold that kind of just goes from investor, bank to bank. So silver at a ratio of about 80 to 1, gold to silver, if you take the price of gold divided by the price of silver, 80 to 1, it's stretched. So if gold does well, silver could do 2-3 times as well. It's just a little heavy, takes up a little bit more space than gold, but we think that it should be a part of every single precious metal portfolio. We believe the upside for silver is extraordinary, but it requires a conversation to see if it's correct for each individual person and their setup.
But it does. And just to underscore this, especially for people who are new and just kind of thinking about getting into gold and silver right now, it still offers the same privacy as gold. It still offers you the same accessibility because it's home with you. So if you need to get a hold of it, you can. What is the main difference for people when they come to you and offer you their unique situation? How do you help them decide between the metals, or do you say, hey, get a little bit of everything?
Well, I mean, first of all, it would depend on how much they're going to move into precious metals, dollar amount. Then it depends on, do they move around a lot? Do they have a lot of storage space? Where are they going to be holding their precious metals? So that's all of a conversation. Is it an IRA transfer, a 401k rollover, or just some liquid money from the bank? So that kind of all, is taken into consideration. And also the risk tolerance, because silver is more volatile than gold.
Right.
So some of those are basic questions that we like to ask clients, but we would say to them, be open to different opportunities, be well diversified within your precious metals. Gold and silver are money. They go all the way back to the Roman Empire, all the way back to Lydia. It's tangible.
Yep.
Obviously, the smaller denominations are silver, less of a dollar value per coin per product, and I would just say it's a part of every single precious metal portfolio. At least it should be considered strong.
Absolutely. 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, or MidasGoldGroup.com for more information on that. That's a Silver American Eagle. More up ahead. It's a Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: central bank digital currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications, the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on the Gold Standard. You can create your own Gold Standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Welcome back. It is the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn, happy to be with you today. And Ken Russo, it is always a pleasure to talk with you about where we are. You hear a lot of news. Some of the news you don't hear, but you should. Some of the news you hear too much of, and you go, please stop
I heard a few doozies today.
I know. There are some doozies out there right now. But let's talk about the banking system, because what you might be hearing, if you're really paying attention, is the story of bank failures. And Unfortunately, the banking system is not the most stable right now. These big banks, the banks that you see that big sign on the door that says FDIC insured, and you say, okay, I feel good about my money here. Well, there are still a lot of people who are not able to access their money, and we're not really even in an emergency crisis situation at this moment. So take us through where we are with the banking system, because people are nervous about this.
Well, like the facts?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
No fake news today.
All right. Well, they were downgraded recently,
Yeah.
which means that they're risky, okay? Their debt situation is causing a problem. And we've talked about the bonds and the investments of the banks being underwater. You're talking about billions and hundreds of billions of dollars for some banks. The major banks. Yes, people, some of the banks that you have your money in. Well, you think your money's there. 25 of the largest banks in the last year, depositors have taken out close to $1 trillion. Is that a fact?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fact. So that means that people are not trusting the banking system. And we saw back in March when people pull their money out of these banks, they can be insolvent in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So how safe is that situation?
Because most of your money, it was important that you, and I love to underscore these things that you say, I don't want them to get thrown out. If you think your money's in the bank, it's not in your local branch.
No, that's why they call it fractionalized banking. Mm-hmm. When you deposit $100, they can make $900.
Right.
Okay, so where does that extra money come from? Well, they just make it up.
And is it going to be there when you want to come and take it out?
No, it's not. It's not there, and the FDIC insurance is not. It's another sham. They have $12 trillion of deposits that they're trying to insure, and I think they have $120 billion of assets. So no wonder back in November we played a clip on the show where they don't want the public to understand how banking really works because everybody would try to show up and take their money out. Well, what I'm telling you people is be proactive. You're talking about entities here that are insolvent, and this is our opinion, of course. We have to say that, right? And you're talking about quadrillions of dollars of derivatives that these banks control. You're talking about a sector that is just leveraged to the gills, drowning in debt. And then you're talking about a system that is supposed to go digital. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to trust this with all of our money?
Doesn't seem the smartest move.
I can't understand it. I mean, you're going to talk about the BRIC nations that are going to be sitting with a currency that's backed by gold.
Something real.
And oil.
Right.
And we're going to be sitting with banks that are insolvent and
filled
digital assets.
Filled with air. And,
digital clicked
and imaginary coins.
So, I mean, it makes no sense to me why anyone would want to leave all of their money in the bank.
Right.
Or all of their money in an IRA in the stock market or in the bond market or any type of this other banking-controlled market. Mm-hmm. Gold and silver, Jen, is a way for people to protect themselves and distance themselves from the dangers that are going to happen and are happening with the banks and with the markets.
And
that's the easiest way to put it. I mean, and wouldn't you want to have that protection, that insurance for your money? Mm-hmm. You know, that, in my opinion, every single American right now, it should be mandatory that they understand what's going on and that they understand that their money is at risk of either, one, losing tremendous value, or two, disappearing, or both.
Yeah.
So what could we do about it? And that's what we keep talking about. So listen, folks, don't be afraid of owning gold and silver, hedging your bets. Be more afraid if you do nothing and leave all of your money in a system and in a market that is ready to tank.
And this is what we say. You want to hedge those bets, right? You don't have to put all of your money into gold and silver, but figure out what is the appropriate amount so that you have something at home that you can access outside of the banking system, outside of the system of fake money and digital currency, under I don't want to say underground because that sounds secretive, but away from government oversight. Yeah. You want to protect yourself. And I think giving distance is the perfect way. Distance yourself from Big Brother that's watching, the government oversight, and of course, all of their mistakes and mismanagement of money, whether it's the banking system or the government. 855-322-4653. 855-322-4653. 855-322-GOLD or MidasGoldGroup.com. MidasGoldGroup.com. And what I really want to underscore, because I always love talking about the people, because I think we have a really important power in our country.
We do.
It's the power of where we can spend our money. We're still allowed to make that choice. And so, you might as well embrace that power while we have it.
Yeah.
And so you have decisions about where to go. So I like to go to a company that's veteran owned. I like to go to a company that is kind of shares my ideals, my philosophy, America First Patriots that run it. What happens, Ken, when someone calls? Because there can be a little standoffish. I'll get to it later. Okay, so somebody finally gets to that phone number. They hear our voice. They call 855-322-4653. They're not sent to a call center. They're sent to a real live person with real knowledge about what's happening right now.
Yeah, and if we can't speak at that moment, leave a message. We'll call you back. But, I mean, it's a conversation with the actual traders themselves and some of the owners of Midas Gold Group. And it's personal.
Yep.
And it's private. And it's important. I had a couple questions for you.
Tell me.
This is how shaky our system is.
Okay.
The national debt in 2000. Do you know how much our debt was in 2000?
I do not know what our...
It's $5 trillion.
Wow.
And that was $54,000 per taxpayer.
And that was a big deal. Remember, it was
Yeah.
a big deal that we were at $5 trillion.
So 23 years later, it's
Yeah.
now $33 trillion, and the debt per taxpayer is $254,000.
It's a house.
The debt to GDP was 56% in 2000, and now the debt to GDP is 119%. This, folks,
It can't continue.
It's inevitably going to end bad. And the only answer that we can get from our leaders and from our, the people who we are counting on to get us out of this is that we're going to print a lot more money. We're going to take on a lot more risk. And we are going to spend a lot more money that we don't have.
And don't think the other countries aren't watching what's happening here, right?
They are. Of course they are.
Absolutely.
And they're
watching
laughing.
us. Yep. And they know. And rooting, not only laughing, but rooting against the United States. So what do? Our citizens still have the moment to protect themselves. 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, MidasGoldGroup.com. We say if you like to do transactions in person, so do we. You can go see Midas Gold Group in California, in the Thousand Oaks area, or in Arizona, in the Phoenix area. MidasGoldGroup.com for the locations, but call 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not in one of those areas, Jen, you don't. It's no excuse. You don't have to be slaughtered.
That's right.
What's coming, no one's going to be able to stop because the damage is already done. These banks have already collapsed. The markets are already in a huge bubble. This is our opinion, of course, right? And it's all because of fake money, abnormally low interest rates for decades. And it can't continue. It has never continued in other countries that have tried this before. I mentioned before, what are we becoming? The United States of Venezuela?
That's
the United States of Argentina? We remember the Weimar Republic.
Yeah.
This is no different. It's just that the majority of people have never seen it before in this country. Well, folks, that's a bad assumption to make that it can't happen here because it is happening. You need to protect your money. You need to hedge your bets. You need to play some defense. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to diversify some of your assets with gold and silver. If you're in the area, come on in. If not, call up. If you live on planet Biden, call in. If you're on planet Kamala, call in. If you're a member of the alphabet people, it doesn't matter. If you're a patriot, if you're conservative, if you're a veteran, everyone should be protecting their assets right now. And as Americans, you do not have to comply with the embarrassing leadership and policy that this country is under. Like I said before, we are headed in the wrong direction in every single possible way. That does not mean that you need to be financially ruined for their mistakes.
That's right. And you don't want to have to pay off what they have created on your behalf. And it's up to us now to make that call, 855-322-4653. We're here on a holiday weekend.
Yes.
And we know that
God bless America.
God bless America.
That's
the
right.
American worker, by the way. God bless all of you out there.
Thank you for every single veteran out there. We love you.
Yes, absolutely. But the point is, it's summer. Things kind of slow down. We all get distracted. Now, people are getting back to it. The fall is here. Kids are back in school. You're focusing back on work again. Do not wait to be in the middle of the coming storm. Do yourself a favor. Call right now, 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, MidasGoldGroup.com, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Call up and experience Goldenomics.
And extra bonus points if you ask for Kenanomics, I
Yes.
think, when you call 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. Ken Russo, always a great
nice
time.
to be with you as always.
Happy
Jeff.
Labor Day weekend to all of you. This is the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.